Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation, my advisor coach. Today in conversation, our guest is Mr. Harsh Agarwal, President SIFs, Specialized Investment Funds with 361 Asset. Welcome, Harsh, to In Conversation today.
Thank you, Surin. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
So, well, for our viewers, today's conversation is going to be very, very interesting because this is our first video podcast where we covering specialized investment funds, right? And Harsh, you happen to be our first guest for that. So, so many of you would know that another product category asset class has been launched as the specialized investment funds, which operates slightly differently than a regular mutual fund, which is more equipped for investor who's willing to take more flexibility in his investment pattern, more risk. He's open to taking some exposure into derivatives through, short positions, hedging, etc., which an SIF provides the investment management team to do. So, well, I will not speak too much about it because we have the expert here, Harsh, along with us. So, Harsh, before we dive into, SIFs and 361 Asset, could you please take our viewers about your investment management journey and experience so far?
Sure, Surin. My career kind of started nearly 2 decades back, working as an analyst for a global hedge fund. This hedge fund group was primarily doing quant strategies at global markets. I therefore was very lucky to learn both quantitative aspects as well as fundamental aspects of research of investment. Now, the good thing about working for hedge funds is that they tend to live entirely on alpha. They don't like to participate or take market direction risk. So the only way they can make returns is through proper stock selection, through nice good weightages across markets. That is the only way that they can make returns. So when you're chasing alpha returns, you go about learning every single aspect, how the alphas can be made, how you can outperform the market. And that was the big learning that I had while I was associated with this global hedge fund group for about 8 years in the beginning.
Okay.
And post that, I dedicated my career to Indian markets. I joined Land Securities in the Treasury Department. I had fantastic 4 years with them. And after that, Tata AMC wanted to build a hedge
Hmm.
fund business through Category 3 AIF.
Mm-hmm.
And then they invited me to build it up. And I had some great time over there. We launched a couple of funds. One of the funds became the largest long short fund in the country in Cat 3 AIF category and was also ranked number one for 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then now SIFs have come, which also have enabled long short strategies to be executed under mutual fund platform. So I think it's a very exciting time for the long short hedge fund managers to display some of their skill set through these SIF strategies for broader market investor participation.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. So tell me now, why SIFs, right? We already have the mutual funds, we have the IFs, we have the PMSs. So what SIF brings specifically for an investor specifically, and what are some of the unique features? Because we have the flexi caps, we have the multi assets, multi caps. We have all given strategies running either on the PMS or the AIF or the mutual fund platforms. So why SIFs? What are some of the unique features for SIFs?
Yeah, sure. So let me take a step back and give a context of mutual funds versus the alternates, which is your PMS and AIFs. PMS and AIFs have generally have higher investment flexibility. How you design the portfolio, how you use derivatives. So PMS and AIFs actually are quite good in that aspect. But when you look at mutual funds, there is a certain operational ease, there is a reach, there is an access advantage, there is superior governance and disclosures in terms of NAV, in terms of portfolio disclosures, risk limits monitoring, and there is also a superior tax advantage associated with the mutual fund platform. So PMS and AIFs are superior, let's say, in terms of investment flexibility, but mutual fund, as a platform is superior in terms of operational aspects as well as tax aspects.
Sure.
Now there is a gap between the two. So the regulator thought let's try to create an intersection between the two. create something which has best of both the sides. So they introduced SIFs under mutual fund platform, which obviously means, SIFs as a category will have all the advantages that mutual funds have, the same
Mm,
taxation, the same operational ease, the governance. At the same time, SIFs have been given slightly higher investment flexibility, which was available to a PMS, or let's say to a
mhm,
limited extent to an AIF.
mm,
So it's kind of situated in between, having the benefits or the best of both the sides. So which makes SIS very, very unique.
mm,
SEBI has introduced three broad categories in SIS, which is your debt, hybrid, and equities.
mhm,
So in its framework, it is very similar to how the mutual fund business or categories have been launched, which is
mm,
debt, hybrid, and equities. Similarly for SIFs. But the number of categories in SIFs is limited. There are three strategies that one can launch in equities, two in hybrids, and two in debt.
sure.
So it's very similar in construct, while it is still early stages, and we may get more strategies, more categories launched in future
Definitely, yes.
if
Mm,
regulator approves from them.
yes, yes,
But
yes,
this is a very good step, I think, perfectly in the right direction. Uh,
yes.
to answer a question about, what is the advantage versus, let's say, balance advantage fund or multi-asset. Well, firstly, let me tell you the two distinct features that SIFs have over a mutual fund. So first thing is, as you all know, or most of you would know, that SIFs can take unhedged shorts in equities or debt up to 25% of NAV. So unhedged shorts means that, let's say, if you believe that there are certain companies which are facing some business issues, they are maybe those business issues could be cyclical or they could be structural. Whenever such issues emerge, these stocks tend to go down.
Mm, mm.
So the investors therefore can make money on the way if the stocks are going down as well.
To the short positions. Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily,
Mm,
limit yourself to making returns only
mm.
while things are going up.
Yeah,
Can make returns, if things are going down as well.
correct,
So
correct.
you can create a short position, which means, you do not own the stock, but you still sell it. And when the stock prices comes down, you can buy it back. So you profit
Very well,
from the stock price decline.
very well.
So that is what we call as unhedged shorts, and that is limited to about 25% of the overall AUM.
Sure.
So there is now a larger canvas available for the SIF fund manager to generate returns for the investors, because in any market scenario, in any economic scenario, there are always companies which are doing well. There are always some companies which are not doing so well.
Absolutely.
So you therefore have a larger
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah,
set to make returns for your investors. So
sure.
that's your main advantage.
Mm,
The second difference is with respect to use of options.
mm.
In mutual funds, the writing or selling of options is very, very limited and restricted. In fact, put option writing is not allowed. It might sound too technical to the investors, but broadly they ought to keep these in mind. So writing of options is very limited in mutual funds, but in SIFs it is there is greater flexibility. Now, writing of option strategy generally will give you certain yields if the markets remain range bound or the stocks
Mm-hmm.
remain range bound. So theoretically, now if you think about it, if markets are completely flattish over a period of time, then chances are that a normal strategy in a PMS or AI or mutual fund may not be able to make money. But an SIF strategy, which is using these options writing as a strategy, may be able to get some derivatives yield in a scenario when the markets are very, very range bound. So that
Sure.
these are the two differences, key differences of SIFs versus the mutual fund.
Right, right. And of course the minimum gate is 10 lakhs,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
up to
sure.
whatever, etc. I think another reason which also comes to our mind is that with the euphoric equity rally, what typically happened is that a lot of mom and pop stores opened up which were managing a lot of unregulated sort of soft PMSs. Correct. Where anybody who could not afford to invest 50 lakhs, for example, was investing, 15 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 20 lakhs, being managed privately in a very unregulated environment. So this was also one of the ways to, bring that investor, from a more, riskier thought of sort of investment which is very unregulated and under a much more regulated umbrella through the asset management companies, where, well, here it is, your opportunity to make higher returns through the flexibilities being provided to the investment management team. So that's another reason which comes to my mind, which is of course very important why SIFs actually were born. But that's great. So 361 Asset, has launched their new fund offer of their first SIF, Diana SIF Equity Long Short. In fact, you launched it today on 6th of February and closing on 20th of February. Could you take our viewers in detail about this product?
Sure, sure, Sunil. So, Dyna is the brand name of our SIFs. This Dyna SIFs is part of the 361 mutual fund.
Hmm,
Uh,
hmm,
One thing that I ought to have told earlier was that every mutual fund has to keep a new name, new logo for their SIFs launches or SIF schemes, just so that the investors who are investing in SIFs, they are able to identify easily that this is a SIF scheme, not a regular mutual fund scheme. So it is for the benefits, keeping the investor in mind that SEBI has asked all the agencies to use a new brand name. So for us, the new brand name is Dyna. The word Dyna is coming from the Greek word dynamism, which means basically agility, adaptiveness, ability to respond to new changing conditions. So we
hmm,
believe that in order to generate sustainable alpha in the market or deliver consistent performance, the fund manager
hmm,
or
hmm.
the investment process has to be very, very dynamic in nature, very, very adaptive and agile to what market is thinking, what market is doing. It needs to be very comprehensive from the perspective that there are sometimes events happening at a global level which are influencing your stock prices in India. Similarly, there are occasions when the bottom-up developments in the corporates becomes the overriding factor for the stock performances. Sometimes your quant strategies work well, sometimes your fundamental strategies work well, sometimes some ideas which you are taking for short term or medium term are working well. Sometimes the ideas where you're placing your bets for the long term are working well. So we wanted to have a very comprehensive process for stock selection, a very nimble, agile process which takes into account what is happening in the market and tries to adapt to it and respond to it by aligning the portfolio to what the markets may reward. So that's our core philosophy, and hence the word Dyna has been used. And now,
Sure.
bringing this philosophy, we believe that sustainable alpha should be achievable. So, Dyna
Hmm.
equity long short is essentially a equity strategy where 80 to 100% allocations will be made to equities, and this 80 to 100% includes your unhedged shorts as well. Uh,
Sure.
so theoretically, let's say if you are 80% long, you can at most be 20% short. Your
Sure.
exposure in total cannot exceed 100%. There is no leverage allowed for SIFs. If you are, let's say, 90% long, then you can at max be 10% short. So first thing is that shorting is not compulsory for us. We will be looking at the companies at the market conditions and tactically creating those short positions whenever we believe that certain companies or stocks are facing some problems, and try to get those additional returns. But if we
Sure.
feel markets are by and large bullish, the news flow at different sector level, company level is positive, then our short portfolio will sort of reduce.
Sure.
So with this scheme, we want to capture best of the or we will attempt to capture best of the long ideas as well as short
Hmm.
opportunities and
Sure.
try to take some additional returns for the investors. That will be our attempt. That being said, when we combine a long and a short portfolio together, generally the fund risk tends to reduce. The sensitivity of the fund to the market sort of comes down. And this has been exhibited through the performance of Cat 3 AIFs, also long short AIFs. They generally have exhibited lower volatility, lower beta versus the market. So while it might sound counterintuitive, but for a long short strategy, it is actually possible to reduce the risk but parallelly increase the return. So that's
Sure.
what we bringing in for the investors.
Sure. Sure. Interesting. And so what will be the kind of portfolio construct, for this particular fund, in terms, will it be tilting? Of course, I do understand that it be market agnostic, right? Market capital. So, but could you tell more about, is it a flexi style, etc.? How do you plan to do it? And the other part is also, what proportion would you be, utilizing for hedging, in normal and a stressed market conditions?
Sure, sure. So, the way to think about is that firstly, this strategy is completely market cap agnostic. So, as a fund manager, I can choose to pick the best ideas from large
Hmm.
caps, mid caps, and small caps.
Hmm.
At the same time, when it comes to allocation, there are two thoughts. One is what should be your overall equity allocation depending on market conditions, and second is what should be the allocation to large, mid, and small themselves. The allocations to large, mid, and small is largely influenced by macro environment and also generally how the earning business development has been. For example, last year was very strong for large caps, but very, very weak for mid and small. So you'll have to kind of keep in mind the macro environment that you are in while allocating money to large, mid, and small. At the same time, you have to look at both bottom-up business developments, the Indian macro conditions, the global macro conditions, to get a sense of how much upside we are looking at for the stocks over next 6 months or 12 months, which will influence your overall allocation to equities. Uh,
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, theoretically, if we get a sense that the market conditions are way too bearish, then we can bring down our equities exposure. We can create hedge on the entire portfolio. It is allowed under SIFs to create a hedge on the entire equities portfolio, either through index or through stock futures, shorting the stock futures, or through writing covered calls or buying puts. So these are some of the derivative strategies to create a hedge. But what SIFs have been given is the flexibility to hedge the entire equity portfolio
Hmm.
if things look, really bad or bearish. That being said, Suren, it's not so easy to predict, this bearish phase of the market. Generally, such fierce, stressed market conditions or bearish phase, they tend to happen with, very weak global macro developments or, something that has gone wrong globally. So you'll have to keep a tab on, what is happening globally. At the same time, look at what is happening at India level. But yeah, I mean, it gives you an option to hedge the equity portfolio, minimize the drawdowns for the investors if you have a very good sense that the market is going to fall. That being said, for our fund, we may have a broad range, of some kind of hedging when you feel bearish. But by and large, this fund will look to beat its benchmark, which happens to be BSC 500 TRI.
Sure. In fact, yeah, I was about to ask you that because, when you're looking at your hedging strategies, yeah, it's a view. And basis that view, if you go ahead with hedging, uh, because you feel bearish and there could be some movement in the market, so you tend to lose as well. So it's a very, very sensitive and complicated, situation when you will use these hedging strategies.
Yes,
But it's certainly, but if I were to say that, if the markets continue to be bearish, and let's say that's how the entire
yes,
industry is operating and working and thinking, then it certainly protects the downside for the investor,
yes,
which is
definitely.
sure.
Absolutely.
So, what criterias will you, uh, utilize when you have to take short positions? Particularly, will they be more fundamental business valuations not looking good? Could you tell us with some examples?
Sure. The criteria for us to select the short positions is kind of similar to how we select the long positions, which is a combination of your business fundamentals, your quantitative analysis and parameters as well, your macro conditions, the top-down approach, how the things are looking for the sector,
Hmm.
the bottom-up traction in the business for the company relative to its peers. So it's very similar to how we select the long portfolio. There isn't much difference, except that sometimes in the short portfolio you can be more tactical, with respect to the events company specific events that you may expect. If there is some negative news, there is some technical weakness, then for a short period of term, you can take a short in the portfolio. But safe to say there will be both, long-term shorts and short-term shorts in the fund, capturing these themes and ideas,
Hmm, hmm.
technical factors as well as fundamental factors. But by and large, the way investors, let's say, or the fund managers pick up the long ideas, the short portfolio or short ideas are also picked up in the same manner. Obviously, excessive valuations is one of the factors. Fundamental deterioration is the prominent factor for short positions.
Sure. But tell me, have you decided, of course, 25% of the AUM is something what you can do as short positions, but have you decided that, no, I will, as a fund, always be shorting, let's say 5%, 10%? Is there any band which you have put internally? Because that helps in kind of increasing the net equity exposure for the client in varied market conditions.
Yeah. So I think the broad range, 0 to 25 percent is is how we are going to play with. There will be times when we feel bullish. There will be times when we feel bearish. So we are going to hit the outer limits, either closer to 0% or to 25% shorts. On these extremes.
Okay.
So frankly, over the last 15 years that I have managed Indian portfolios, it's all generally has been mixed. There has been few rare years when it sounds like supremely bullish, and rare years when it sounds like supremely bearish. So these extremes will be hit only in such, when things are very, very complicated or very, very good. So, safe to say that average, shorts might be around 10 to 15% for the
Mm.
fund. And when I'm
Okay.
saying shorts, I'm talking about naked shorts.
Naked shots, of course. Good,
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
But we
Mm.
haven't really, put a scenario that, we will definitely be 5% short or maximum be 20% short. We haven't put that condition in our fund. Depending on, various multiple conditions that influence the stock market or stock prices, it will be a subjective sort of a judgment, how much shorts you want to take and which kind of businesses are looking bad. I think it's also a combination of, the bottom of fundamentals as well.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
get good ideas on short side, then you might as well, take them. So there are situations when, let's say, the stock where you're bullish on is showing 20% upside, but let's say a stock which you are bearish on, you have a feeling that it might go down 40% or so. There are
Hmm.
situations like that. So in such situations, you obviously are tempted to take, higher shots. And if you can get many such ideas, then obviously the short book will expand. But
Absolutely.
it's a
Absolutely.
combination of multiple macro as well as, bottom up.
Absolutely. And I think the way the liquidity in our market has increased and the participation and how the, sectoral leaders rotate every year and market cap, rotates every year. There are enough and more opportunities, between stocks and sectors where, it'll help you taking these short positions to increase that return in the portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
सो टेल मी समथिंग, ये सब ठीक है, बहुत बढ़िया, बट इन्वेस्टर के लिए अल्टीमेटली जो पैसा इन्वेस्ट करेगा, व्हाट इज द एक्सेस अल्फा which these strategies can generate? I'm not generally talking about, Dyna SIF. I'm just saying SIF. And of
Hmm.
course, that will be implied to Dyna SF as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Over, let's say, a mutual fund, let's say
Huh.
someone has a 15 lakh rupees, he invests with SIF. Chalo bhai, let me try this and, uh, uh, hedge my positions, take short positions, more like a flexi cap sort of a portfolio, taxation availability भी है, compliance भी है. तो अब इसमें मुझे excess alpha कितना expect कर सकते
थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है क्वेश्चन आंसर करना.
हैं?
बट सो फर्स्टली एक चीज समझनी चाहिए कि सिप्स के अंदर आपकी कई टाइप की स्कीम्स होंगी. कुछ बहुत लो रिस्क होंगी और कुछ मीडियम रिस्क होंगी, कुछ हायर रिस्क होंगी. जो हायर रिस्क होंगी वो अपने बेंचमार्क निफ्टी या बीएससी 500 इस टाइप के बेंचमार्क से कंपेयर की जाएंगी. जो मीडियम रिस्क होगी जिसमें डेट और इक्विटी दोनों होगा, वो निफ्टी 50/50 इंडेक्स से कंपेयर की जाएंगी.
हम्म, हम्म,
50/50 इज अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ हाफ 50% इक्विटी 50% डेट. कुछ लो रिस्क होंगी जो लेट्स से 25% इक्विटी, 75% फिक्स्ड इनकम से कंपेयर होंगी, ऐसी भी स्कीम्स होंगी। तो
श्योर।
पहली चीज तो मैं अपने दर्शकों को ये बताना चाहूंगा कि जब हम बोल रहे हैं कि कोई भी स्कीम अल्फा बनाती है, तो अल्फा अपने बेंचमार्क के से कंपैरिजन में बनाती है,
करेक्ट, एब्सोल्युटली।
कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बनाती है।
बिल्कुल।
तो अगर कोई लो रिस्क स्कीम है जिसने मान लीजिए आपका 8% रिटर्न बनाया है, और निफ्टी ने 12% रिटर्न बनाया है, तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उसने 4% निफ्टी से कम बनाया है।
हम्म।
का मतलब ये होता है कि शायद अपने बेंचमार्क से बराबर बनाया है, या 1% हो सकता है ज्यादा भी बनाया हो। तो पहले
हम्म।
तो इन्वेस्टर्स को मैं ये रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि हर स्कीम का बेंचमार्क देखें, उसको समझें। उससे दो बातें आपको समझ में आएंगी कि इस उस पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रैटेजी का रिस्क क्या होने वाला है, रिटर्न की क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन होनी चाहिए, और फिर आप परफॉर्मेंस जज कर पाएंगे कि उस स्ट्रैटेजी ने, उस स्कीम ने अपने बेंचमार्क से बेहतर किया है कि नहीं।
हम्म।
ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है समझने के लिए।
हम्म।
अब बात हो रही है कि सिर्फ स्ट्रैटेजीज अपने बेंचमार्क से कितना बेहतर कर सकती हैं, कितना
हम्म।
अल्फा बना सकती हैं। तो देखिए, दो टूल्स हमें डेफिनेटली मिले हैं, जो कि बहुत एडवांटेजियस है मेरी ओपिनियन।
हम्म। हम्म।
पहला, जैसे मैं बताया कि आप छोटे एक्सटेंट तक 25% तक आप उन शेयरों से बेनिफिट कर सकते हैं जो गिर रहे हैं, उनको आप
हम्म।
बेच करके रिटर्न कमा सकते हैं। तो
ये बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है।
ये एक बड़ा एडवांटेज है फॉर
बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है।
अ गुड स्टॉक पिकर, गुड फंड मैनेजर, जिनका एक्सपीरियंस है लॉन्ग स्टॉक्स खरीदने में भी और
हम्म।
स्टॉक बेचने में भी। तो एक एक डेफिनेटली एक एडवांटेज क्रिएट होता है।
हम्म।
सेकंड है ऑप्शंस राइटिंग वाला, जो
हम्म।
कि एक नॉर्मल म्यूचुअल फंड्स के लिए बहुत रिस्ट्रिक्टेड था, पर सिर्फ के लिए बहुत लिबरल है।
हम्म।
पर पर क्या हर स्थिति में ऑप्शंस बेचने से या राइटिंग करने से रिटर्न बनता है? आंसर नहीं। सिर्फ बहुत ही रेंज बाउंड कंडीशंस में अगर आपको प्रीमियम अच्छे मिल गए, आपने बेच दिया, तो आपको वो पैसा बन जाता है। और उसके अलावा भी स्टॉक पिकिंग, जो आपने शेयर्स खरीदे हैं और जिन पे आप ऑप्शंस बेच रहे हैं, वो बहुत ज्यादा डिटरमिन करता है कि क्या रिटर्न बनेगा।
श्योर।
तो
श्योर।
आपको टूल्स मिले हैं, आपको वो अस्त्र शस्त्र मिले हैं, नो, पर उसकी विद्या क्या फंड मैनेजर के पास है? क्या उन्होंने उसको, उन टूल्स को, अस्त्र शस्त्र को पहले कभी यूज किया है? और क्या वो फ्यूचर में ढंग से एग्जीक्यूट कर पाएंगे? इस चीज पे बहुत डिपेंड करेगा। मैं
हम्म।
आपको ऑनेस्टली बताना चाहता हूँ कि अल्फा अपॉर्चुनिटी बढ़ गई है क्योंकि टूल्स बढ़ गए हैं, पर अल्फा गारंटीड नहीं है।
एब्सोल्युटली, बिल्कुल ठीक बोला आपने।
गारंटीड नहीं
बिल्कुल
है।
ठीक बोला।
और हर फंड मैनेजर को, हर इन्वेस्टमेंट फर्म को अपनी स्ट्रैटेजी अच्छे से एग्जीक्यूट करना पड़ेगा,
करेक्ट।
और तब अल्फा बनाना पड़ेगा। पर अच्छी बात यह है कि कम से कम अस्त्र शस्त्र तो हैं,
एब्सोल्युटली।
जिसके
एंड
कारण से आप अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं।
यस, यस, और एक 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 और वैरायटी मिल गई इन्वेस्टर को। कि मैं आप जैसे प्रोफेशनल्स के हाथ में, we give our money to be managed, because you're the best people to manage all these short positions, or the writing of options, etc. So we get a another avenue to invest through that.
एब्सोल्युटली, यस।
Wonderful. So, Harsh, today through this in conversation, what message, because we have large audience listening to you, what message would you like to give to all the mutual fund distributors, advisors, and investors about Dyna SIF Equity Long Short Fund NFO, which is currently just started?
मेरा मेरा मैसेज सिर्फ ये है कि पहले तो आप सिर्फ कैटेगरी को समझिए, बहुत ही प्रॉमिसिंग कैटेगरी है। एक एक चीज जो मैं सोचता हूँ कि जो बड़ी बड़ी एमसीज हैं, वो भी इसमें बहुत एग्रेसिवली लॉन्च कर रही हैं। तो डेफिनेटली इस सिर्फ कैटेगरी में जरूर कुछ बात है,
Hmm.
वरना जो लार्जेस्ट एमसीज है वो शायद इसमें एंडेवर ही नहीं करती।
Hmm. Hmm.
तो डेफिनेटली कुछ बात है, तभी सारी लार्ज म्यूचुअल फंड कंपनीज इसमें फंड स्कीम्स लॉन्च कर रही हैं। तो एक तो आपको स्टडी करना बहुत जरूरी है।
Hmm.
अ, दूसरा, हर सिर्फ स्कीम को आपको अलग तरीके से देखना पड़ेगा, उसके बेंचमार्क को देखना पड़ेगा, और ये समझने की कोशिश करना पड़ेगा कि फंड या म्यूचुअल फंड उसमें क्या करने वाला है।
Hmm.
और तीसरी चीज मैं ये बोलूंगा कि आपको ये समझना पड़ेगा, आकलन करना पड़ेगा कि मेरे को एक्स्ट्रा रिटर्न कितना मिलेगा
Hmm.
नॉर्मल म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम से, जो कि हम लोगों ने पहले भी डिस्कस किया था, या एक नॉर्मल पीएमएस एआईएफ स्कीम से एट अ पोस्ट टैक्स लेवल। अगर उस तीनों बातों पे आपको कंफर्ट आता है तो ही आपको इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए। इसका टिकट साइज 10 लाख इसीलिए रखा गया है ताकि एक थोड़े से समझदार और एक्सपीरियंस्ड इन्वेस्टर्स इसमें आए, रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स इसमें बहुत ज्यादा ना आए, क्योंकि हो सकता है डेरिवेटिव्स अगर गलत यूज हो गया तो उसमें रिस्क भी हो सकता है।
करेक्ट,
तो
करेक्ट।
इन्वेस्टर्स को रिस्क भी समझना चाहिए, रिटर्न भी समझना चाहिए। जहां तक मेरा मानना है, चूंकि सारे ही म्यूचुअल फंड बहुत ही अच्छे फंड मैनेजर्स को लेके आ रहे हैं मार्केट में, तो बहुत कोई अतरंगी रिस्क नहीं होना चाहिए इस कैटेगरी में। मतलब जनरली ये सब रिस्क मेजरमेंट कंट्रोल में ही रहना चाहिए। बात यह है कि आपको एक्स्ट्रा रिटर्न कितना मिलेगा। तो उसमें हमारी पर्टिकुलरली जो स्कीम है, हम हमारी इसमें पूरी कोशिश रहेगी कि हम बेस्ट रिटर्न्स पॉसिबल अपने इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए लेके आएं, primarily through use of accurate stock selection, both on the long side and the short side. So we really want to make returns for the investors, on both the sides, which will typically enhance your overall returns over a long period of time.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very well, very well. So, well, for our viewers, this is Mr. Harsh Agarwal, President SIFs with 361 Asset, talking about their new fund offer, the first SIF by 361 Asset, Diana SIF Equity Long Short. The NFO has opened today and closing on 20th of February. I think this was a great opportunity for our viewers because, just as Harsh आपने explain किया, SIF क्या है, what are the advantages which an investor or as an investment management team which you get in managing the portfolio through the SIF route. I think this was very, very important, and how you connected all the dots in terms of how this strategy will start to operate. So thank you very much for taking out time and taking us through your Diana SIF equity long short and the SIF as a strategy. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका।
थैंक यू सुरेन, एंड थैंक यू व्यूअर्स। प्लीज हमारे स्क्रीन को देखिए, अगर आपको सूटेबल लगे तो उसको आकलन करिए।
Definitely, definitely. Thank you, Harsh. So, well, for our viewers, I would also request you to please subscribe to the YouTube channel of Advisor Coach if you haven't, because once you subscribe, you'll receive such wonderful updates as to what's exactly happening in the markets. Thank you very much. Thank you, Harsh, for joining.